Minnesota Vikings' second preseason game of the 2023 season is fast approaching. We're going to talk about 5 players that we're going to be watching this game. But before we get into the video, if you like what you see here, hit that like button for us. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Let's go.
And ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we have coming up towards the regular season. Let's get into the video.
Let's do it.
As we move into preseason week 2, as we talked about earlier, there's a few players that we're going to keep an eye on. I felt like we saw a lot from a lot of the players that we talked about last week. Some we didn't see as much, and there were some surprises that kind of popped out to us as well. Overall, I was pretty happy with the performance last week, even though score-wise we did get blown out. But I thought we saw a lot of really good things from a lot of the players that we were expecting to have major roles this year. Obviously, when you get to like the third, fourth quarters, you get a lot of depth pieces, got like bottom of the roster guys that are going to develop, obviously.
Yeah.
But what I saw in the first couple quarters, mainly on defense, I was really impressed with. I mean, there was a few drives in there where it looked like the Donatel defense, but it is to be expected with all these new players, young players learning a new scheme. Offensively, from the backups, I thought it looked good. I mean, Addison looked great. Chandler looked good. We'll get into more of these guys a little bit later on, but overall, I was pleased. But moving on to the second game, there's a few more players that I'm keeping an eye on. What are your thoughts going into the second preseason game?
Yeah, man, you said it exactly. Like the first half of last game was pretty good, and that was a lot of our twos. There's a couple starters in there, and we did get to see a lot of big things, especially on the defense, like you said, with Brian Flores bringing the pressure. We got to see a lot of that. We got to see a lot of Ivan Pace. You brought up Addison, who had catch of the week for sure, and probably catch of all of preseason. That they didn't give it to him, which was disappointing. But other than that, unfortunately, Jordan Addison, we probably won't get to see him. There's a couple players when we go into this list that we're not going to be able to see, not in this list, but because they're in this list, almost because we don't get to see some of these guys. And Jordan Addison's a big one with his concussion, and probably will be good to go on Monday, which is really good, but we won't be able to see him in this game, unfortunately. Otherwise, he might even make the top of our list again, just because he's so fun to watch. But other than that, let's dive into our top 5 here, starting with our number 5. Well, actually,
we get number 5.
Yeah,
smash that subscribe button.
Smash that subscribe button. We're on our way to 1,000. I know for our live stream, once we get to 1,000, so for people who see this and subscribe, once we get 1,000 subscribers, we are giving away this Daniil Hunter autographed out of 50 gold. So definitely hit subscribe button. Jump in our live streams. We give it away on our live streams. I'm not going to talk about it a lot because I did promise our live streamers that this will be for them. So if you are interested in this and like our content, subscribe to that and go check us out on our live streams.
Absolutely.
But after that, and then one more thing before real quick, on Skol Fest 2023, we are having a Vikings party at Northeast Palace in Minneapolis on Saturday the 9th. So right before the Vikings home opener against Tampa Bay, it's going to be a great time. Other content creators, tons of fans. We're super pumped up about it. So if anybody's watching this, email us, message us, do whatever you have to do to figure out what you got to do to go to this, and we'll let you know on that. But to the real one, number 5, we got Andrew Booth Jr., a player that last week was kind of a disappointment, at least to some extent. I saw some good plays out of him, but there's just that one touchdown that you can actually see in this picture to Bobo. That was kind of a disappointment. We didn't see a lot. Sounds like since then he's been looking pretty good in practice, but with a Caleb Evans out, with a concussion again, he had 3 last season, another one in preseason. What is the season going to look like for him? Blackman also had an injury. Doesn't look super serious, but that means we're without either of them right now. It goes from Murphy straight to Andrew Booth Jr. So we want to see him to step up because we want to feel some sort of confidence that Andrew Booth will be able to step in there if he has to as a cornerback too, potentially. I'm hoping it doesn't come down to that based on what we've seen so far, but we do know he has potential. What's your thoughts on Andrew Booth?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it all. And I know in the joint practices, he did have a couple interceptions. There was the one that kind of made the highlight reel where he, jumped off his
Yeah.
receiver to jump this route, grabbed the pick that was an overthrow, then he launched it onto the Titans sidelines at practice. That's kind of fun. But you need to see some of that competitive flair. Maybe not to that extent, but you do need to see some of that competitive flair with this kid because we know he has it in him. He just needs to stay on the field and go show it. So this week will be a huge week for Andrew Booth. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. So is what you got, man. Some people had you pegged as a first-round pick. Show them why. Show them why. We know the potential's there.
Exactly.
Moving on to number 4, we have another pick from last year, another high pick, our first-round pick, number 32 overall in 2022. That is Lewis Cine. Now, after last game, there was a lot of hate to Lewis Cine. They said he's soft, he's not big enough, he got pushed around on a lot of plays. Which, if you're watching, that's very true. Like, he got beat on a couple of tackles. He should be able to land those hits. Though Zach Charbonnet's a huge dude. We liked him a lot going into the draft. We knew he had that in him, but Lewis Cine did make, and he's the pad level's a little too high. I think that's the main thing. Like, obviously he had one tackle where he almost like clotheslining the guy. Obviously you're tackling high there, but he still finished the tackle. But overall, what I noticed with Lewis Cine is the vision and the speed is there. He got to the spot he needed to get to.
Yes.
He just needs to start finishing the play. And he said he wants to stack bodies. I think he can still do that. Like I said, he gets to the spot. He's fast. He just has to start laying the hammer, lower the pad level, go for the midsection, and we're going to be perfectly fine. I am not giving up hope in Lewis Cine.
Yeah, I'm not giving up hope on him either. Obviously, he had his injury that he was a really bad injury.
Right.
And some people would say it's surprising to even see him getting preseason action at this point. So you have to take a little bit of a grain of salt of how he's played in this first one. But we are hoping, like, again, what Casey said, he's supposed to stack bodies. And he was in there. He was around the ball a lot. You could tell he was fast. That very first play of the game, right? It was the first play of the game where he kind of went in the backfield and got that tackle. Mm-hmm. That was really nice. But he's coming in quick and he's laying these hits. But it ends up it just looks like he's taking the worst of it. It's just he's not getting enough power on those tackles. And like you said, his pad level is probably too high. So I'm hoping that we see that a little bit more of a bang from his tackles in this game. And, this is our first round pick from a year ago. So we need to see a little bit more out of him than we did last game, for sure. This is both Andrew Booth and Lewis Cine. These are our redemption picks. And we also have one more, I would probably say, somewhat of a redemption pick at number 3 in Ed Ingram. He was the only starter on offense that played in this last game. He had an up and down game for sure. He's definitely allowed, I don't know what his pressure count was, but he definitely allowed some pressures, or some pressure, just at least, he got beat a couple times. So, and that's your starting guard against him too. So you're really, this is the guy that we feel, as far as our offensive line goes, we still feel like interior offensive line is the biggest weakness on our offense, potentially for our entire team. And it really comes down to Ed Ingram, Ezra Cleveland, and then Bradbury. And our hope was that Ed Ingram would be able to progress enough to kind of, make that interior a little bit better. And I guess our first time seeing him this season in action, we didn't feel confident in that, to the point where people are asking for Dalton Reisner more than ever. So, and I don't think that's a bad idea. I think we should go get someone like that, because we obviously aren't completely sure what we have in that interior O-line. What's your thoughts?
There was some, obviously the big play that made him look rough was the one where the defensive interior guy got right past him. He's kind of standing there, turning around, looking back at looking back at Mullins when Mullins kind of took the hit there. Mullins got the ball out. He got hit still, but he got the ball out, and then Ty Chandler was able to avoid and get the first down. But either way, so I want to I'm trying to take his side as much as I can here, be a little overly positive, to where he's playing with backups. Like, the communication along the offensive line is important, knowing who takes what. When you're playing with guys you don't normally play with, since he is playing with the first team mainly in practice, he doesn't get a lot of that with those backups, like the communication and everything. So I think that's part of the reason, why there's some problems. I know Andy Carlson on Purple for the Win says that if you really watch, there were some good reps by him in there. He didn't look terrible, but obviously that one play will stand out. I'm not trying to say he's perfect. I'm not trying to say he's good. We know he's mediocre right now at best. He has a lot of room to grow, but I think he can do it. He's still young. He was a great pass blocker in college. He just needs to find a way to get it to translate to the NFL. And I think with a little more practice, a little more real game reps, which he'll get throughout the preseason here. I think we're going to
Yes.
be okay. But that's the thing. In this game, we need to see a step up. We need to see improvement from Eddie.
And we're expecting to see him. I don't think we believe there's going to be a lot of starters played in this game. That's why this list is kind of with the idea that we won't see any starters, as KOC didn't start any starters last preseason. But again, since we already seen Ed Ingram in the preseason one, we just imagine that he'd get some playing time in this one as well. So that brings us to number 2. So switching from guys that kind of need to make redemptions to guys that we picked on our list last week that stepped up. And for number 2, it's Ty Chandler, who last week we had him as our number 5. And a lot of people in their list would have put McBride above him. But we didn't forget what Ty Chandler showed in preseason last season. And he came back and started where he left off. And he had he ended up with 50 yards plus, 50 yards plus rushing.
Total, yes. But I think rushing, he had like 11 carries for 44 yards or something.
All right, 11 carries, 44 yards. And then he had like 3 catches for 23 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. But still, all around running back. We need a wide receiver type of running back because we don't really have one on this team right now. And we felt better with having him in there for that. And then plus just RB2 because McBride did come in and didn't show what we were hoping for. So knowing that what we have in Ty Chandler as our number 2, we can feel a little bit more confident that if Madison goes down, there is someone that might be able to step in for him, which hopefully nothing happens to Madison, but we can feel a little bit at ease as far as Ty Chandler, because he looked like a stud out there. And again, going into this game, he's going to be if we don't have our first team out there, I mean, he's going to be the guy to watch. He's going to kind of be the offense. It's one of the scenarios where you kind of run the offense through him at this point with the other talent that we have on the second team here. But what's your thoughts?
When it comes to backups, so we definitely need him to be good because we keep bringing running backs because we don't have a lot of depth there. I mean, Kene, there's something, his injury is a little more serious than I think what was previously believed. McBride, 1 game, but he hasn't shown
it is 1 game
yet. But hopefully, and he could be on this list too. Hopefully this game, when he gets more opportunities, not returning kicks because don't have to do that anymore. But hopefully when he gets some more opportunities at the running game, he can take advantage of them. But for right now, Ty Chandler has a stranglehold on the number 2 running back spot, and I think he's only going to keep that going forward. Moving on to our number 1 guy is, of course, Will Levis. I'm kidding.
Will Levis. This guy is actually most excited to see Will Levis.
I'm excited to watch Will Levis a little bit.
Getting picked off by Andrew Booth Jr. Lewis Scene.
But anyway, Ivan Pace Jr. By the way, that the interception from Andrew Booth was actually off Malik Willis, so maybe we'll see that tomorrow as well. But Ivan Pace Jr., obviously since training camp started, he's been the spotlight. He's been the media. He's been the darling of the Minnesota Vikings fans. Been the shining star of Kevin O'Connell, and we all know why. We saw it last week, blowing up offensive tackles, making plays, flying all over the field. He's probably not the best in coverage. He's a little undersized, but it is what it is, man. For a Brian Flores defense to send him after the quarterback constantly all the time. He knocked over Derrick Henry in joint practices. There's not much more you need to say about this kid. For where undrafted, having to try to make a name for himself. What did he say he wants to do? Eat people's faces? Is that his plan?
Or run through people's faces.
That's what it was. But no matter what, he's doing it right now. And I really hope he can keep it up. And he might be that surprise guy that ends up starting by week 1, mainly because our linebackers are a little weak right now, especially since we don't know what's going on with Brian Asamoah. But super. I mean, you cannot not be excited about Ivan Pace Jr.
Yeah, for anybody in Purple Gang, y'all know who you are. We knew that Ivan Pace Jr. shouldn't have been undrafted anyways. He was kind of a unicorn undrafted player. Same with Andre Carter, people would say. So we knew he shouldn't, but the fact that he is undrafted and he comes in with the green dot on his helmet and he has that performance where he had 2 hurries right away in the game. Yes, he played a lot. There's a lot has to go. He's a rookie and he's kind of taking charge of that defense, undrafted rookie at that. And there was a couple plays in coverage, but he wasn't supposed to be perfect and he showed enough. And so it's absolutely incredible to see what's happening with him, especially with KOC announcing like it has nothing about now. He has no worries about making his team. It's not about that. It's almost about, man, can he start? Can he make a big impact for this team and this defense right out the gate? That's what it's starting to see, and is crazy to see undrafted free agent come in like that. A lot of people are kicking themselves in the ass for letting this dude pass, and that's to our benefit, and we can't be more than happy. Which brings me to Flores' defense in general. Again, we already mentioned it in the first half specifically. It looked fantastic. And I think going forward into this game, I mean, especially if there's no starters playing, that's what we're really going to be looking at. Is we're really going to be trying to look at what Flores defense is going to. Oh, nice, perfect timing. He could be 1A. He should be 1A. Flores' defense and bring in that pressure, because all through practices, joint practices with the Titans, it sounds like that pressure has been coming hot. Danielle Hunter's getting a few sacks. I guess we're getting pressures on pretty much every single play. Totally different than what we seen last year, and you can't be more than excited to see that. So I want to see more of that and continue seeing that. And Ivan Pace at this point in the preseason, he's kind of the guy to look at for those scenarios. So
For sure.
pumped up for that.
Yep. Absolutely. So those are the 5 players we're watching for going into the week 2 preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. Let us know your 5 players you are looking forward to watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video. We'll see you guys next time right here on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.